Hey,
Anything?
can't hear you still.
Hi.
Wait, let
My
me make
mic
sure it's
says
not my
on.
problem. No, okay. The site is not muted, so we're in the top there. Let me share the screen. Maybe that will help. Like, do you see something here in the top that you can adjust and make sure it's accessing the mic properly? Try to look for that.
It says camera and microphone, and it's red.
Okay.
So, testing again?
Let's see if I can get support in here. The camera and mic are both red. I have mic and cam on and green below. Okay.
Oh, cool.
Let's see. Maybe, do you have any other speakers connected or audio options? Oh, Alejandra says she can hear us both. Maybe it's my fault. There you are. Oh my God.
So it's not me.
No,
it's not me.
It was not you. It was me, totally. I had the volume down all the way.
And awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hit record here and we'll go live. Oh, we're already live here. Oh, we've been live this whole time on Facebook and YouTube and stuff. So that's good. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Great to be here. My name's Miriam Dorset. I'm the founder of Hubor. We build brands and digital products for artists and community organizations. Today, I'm live with Luigi, a good friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about his journey to where he is today and kind of catching up, and you guys get to be here with us. Feel free to chime in with any questions that you have. Use the reactions, use the comments. I really would love for you to join the conversation. It feels great to have people coming back to the stream every single week. Hey, Luigi, how are you?
What's up, Miriam? How are you?
It's so beautiful. Thanks for having me. Where are you right now?
This is Playa del Carmen. This is Mexico. Between Cancun and Tulum, around there.
Beautiful. And
not at a resort.
Not at a resort.
Cool. Sean was just there. Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the last time I talked to you, you were headed off to Costa Rica. So now you did that already?
Did that already. Started off in Nicaragua, hopped over to Costa Rica, and then spending the last 5 weeks here in PDC for the first time. I've never been to this side of Mexico before.
Very cool. I love it. Well, stick around. We're going to be talking with Luigi about his journey. As you can see, he is living the life as a entrepreneur, digital nomad, and I'm sure has achieved some inner peace, which we'll be talking a little bit about today because of the work that Luigi does. Luigi Pissani is all about empowering people by providing a fresh perspective on your body and how you can actually use it to redefine your work and your workplace and how you're living your life 8 to 10 hours a day working. Luigi began his career in health as an exercise psychologist and turned strength and conditioning coach after graduating with a master's from the University of Miami. He married together his innate creativity to his academic and professional background and developed Feel, which is a brand new practice. It is used as a path to the authentic embodiment of your body, mind, and spirit. Did I get that bio pretty solid, Luigi?
Yeah, I just made a quick little adjustment to not psychologist, but physiologist.
Physiologist.
The H is silent.
What's the
So,
difference
yeah.
between a physiologist and a psychologist, for those that don't know, including
Um,
myself?
Well, at least in the just physiology of the body, you're understanding the biochemistry of it. You're understanding, in this case, how exercise, which is a stress on the body, affects it positively and negatively. And particularly for me, the real emphasis of study was how to use it as a form of prevention for metabolic diseases. So back in my day, studying that, it was still a relatively new field, and the only thing you could really do with it was maybe go work for Gatorade or Nike, doing research in a lab and hooking up people to like VO2 max like tests and figuring out like just like how what their lactate threshold is, or how much oxygen they're able to produce during a given bout of exercise. So really, really boring stuff, because life isn't lived in a lab. So that's why I kind of had to step away a little bit from what I had learned, get back into my own body and whatever and everything that was happening to it, and then also start taking notes, with the clients that I had once upon a time, and realizing like what can we actually be doing for people and what can they be doing for themselves outside of just trying to schedule an hour 3 times a week, or telling them, hey, go walk 60 minutes a day type of thing.
Right. Getting a workout in.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So this is kind of like a new way to just live your life day to day and incorporate these practices.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like just from the moment that you're rising out of bed, and the moment that you decide to go into work mode, right? As it's been said, stress becomes this endemic, right? Like it's just constantly prevalent, like it's just always there. So if you are the level of person, because this is like not the lay, right? These are like the top tier people that are actually dedicating 10 minutes to meditation, or they're actually dedicating 5 days of their week to go to a gym or to go take a class or whatever it is, you really still fall short as far as the actual journey of what it's like to listen to your body, to understand what it's saying, to be vigilant of the different experiences that it's had. So now we get into stuff like the trauma of the body. And I don't mean that in the sense of just like, oh, something that someone said to you that was, triggering and it offended you, but I actually mean like an actual injury, right? Mm-hmm. Like that is the epitome of the ow, moment, right? Because it takes you by surprise. You can't plan for it. And then the moment that it happens, you're sort of left in this dark space of like, what do I do now? Because say it was your ankle, now you can't really, run or jump or even walk normally. Say it was your back, now you can't bend down and even outwork a geriatric person, right? So there's all these different things that happen to the human body in a way that just like they can't always be prevented. And the best that you can do sometimes is to just make sure that you're taking, the natural steps to make sure that things are in sync, right? So that you're not using the exercise and the working out as just a way to just push off the stress, right? Because like you've built it up, and now you're just going to go in there, you're going to hammer yourself even more, right? And then you're just going to eat till you end up in a coma type of thing, right? And that's like one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is just like, you're going to go to your CrossFit class, and same thing, you're going to beat yourself up. And then next thing you know, you have this other sort of acute, or chronic injury that happens just as a result of you stepping into that environment without being prepared for it.
Very interesting. What made you get into this whole pathway of life, wanting to help people in this way?
Just for starters, just a natural tendency to want to hug, want to see vibrancy in people, wanting to, kind of like laugh at the simple things in life. I was the kind of student where I would purposely make kind of like silly jokes or whatever in class just to break the tension. Because for whatever reason, I just understood that, man, like this is getting boring right now and people are just losing themselves. And then all of a sudden, let me say something that's just like a little silly just to get a laugh out of people, right? But as a kid, I was always a very overweight kid till about high school. So I dealt with that issue of not feeling comfortable in my own skin, of not being able to wear certain clothes, of putting on a t-shirt when you're gonna jump in the pool type of thing, which, it's like the embarrassing stuff, right, that happens. And so I had that relatability later on in life to want to help someone that's sort of in that same position, but then at the same time realizing that everyone is like just so uniquely different, and it's not about everyone should be at a certain body fat percentage, but it's also not about like, hey, let me just let the person go to the extent where they're morbidly obese now, right? And then their quality of life just diminishes tremendously, because they can't go up a flight of stairs without catching their breath, or they can't get a good night's sleep because of sleep apnea, type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how did you come up with the name, Feeling Everything, Actively Living?
Yeah, so that came up first before I realized that if I put it all together, it like could sound and like spelled out feel. I was actually just doing acronyms at the time. And then I had a couple of meetings with some attorneys because I realized that the practice itself had multiple, levels to it. Those are the ones that you see there, in body, medicine, and intention. Those are all different pillars. But one of the attorneys that I spoke to was like, when you write it out, try to make something different about it. And I was like, okay. So I decided to add a colon to it because I felt like it did almost like, a colon represents like the beginning of like the next thing that's going to be said, right, type of thing. So like you make like a statement and then the next thing follows. So I was like, if you put the words, together, it starts off like feeling because it sounds like it, and then it ends up into healing. And the path that I realized for myself when it came to my own, my own body, was that I couldn't ignore the pains. I couldn't ignore the discomfort. I had to actually go deep into it. And more importantly, understanding that a universal law is that everything is constantly in motion, right? And nothing is ever truly stagnant. And so if you're going to live your life and go through the stresses that we mentioned and go through the issues of just like life in general, and then think that you can just like stop and then everything would just sort of like pass you by and ignore it type of thing, right? Then good luck. But for me, it was like, no, you have to go deep into it.
Yeah.
So that's where the active part comes in. You have to actively live it.
Well, it's really incredible. I love that story. I know there's people out there that they want to use their passion and their knowledge to build a business and get out there and start helping people. Tell us a little bit about how you went about starting your company and when you started it, and because it's been quite some time now that you've been doing this.
Yeah. So the beginning, when I was first trying to put the philosophy together, and then each pillar, by the way, took about a year and a half or so to actually sort of study myself. But the way it originally started was through an injury. It was this shoulder. I had sort of, I never got it diagnosed, but I'll just put it this way. I could not put my arm behind my back without feeling like a great deal of pain. So that just gave me like a baseline. And then I've always been of the mentality of like, words have a lot of power, right? So if I already understand that this is an issue and that it's not feeling the best, like, I don't know if at least at that, in that situation, it's necessary for me to go see a doctor to tell me like, oh yeah, no, it's like a level 3, sort of tear or whatever, right? I was just like, okay, I know that I can't do certain things. So then shift your focus, like, what can I actually do? But the thing that I ended up doing was sort of going on this pilgrimage where I stopped seeing clients for a bit, because I felt like if I'm going to go through this in this creative space, then number one, I've been writing the manuscript. The manuscript has been a thing for the last like 3.5 years at this point. Number two, I need to actually dedicate that time to living and embodying what it is that I'm going to end up, teaching. And I can't really do that if I'm in this space of, managing my clients and managing the amount of money that I'm making a month, and that whole process. So I stepped away from it, and I've been living off of savings for a minute in that time. And, God has always provided. So I've just been, very fortunate in that space. But at the same time, just like realizing, there's some things, especially when you're talking about like an actual philosophy and embodiment of something, you just have to enter a different realm. You have to, if you're going to talk about like inner peace, if you're going to talk about or live, an aspect of like somatic awareness in the whole thing, then you can't necessarily dedicate yourself to like a 9 to 5, and you got to like really take that risk. So I've like full on took the risk of, okay, let me step away from it and then allow, just the sort of spontaneity of life to happen, because that's part of the philosophy anyway.
Totally. And it's worked out for you. You've traveled around and your business is still growing and you're building and you're alive and you're well. Your puppy Luna is well taken care for. Everything's coming together. I love seeing you grow.
Right over here.
What words or lessons would you want to pass down to our younger generation, hoping to be great or, still trying to discover their passion?
Stop putting words to it. And I know that I used to hear when I was younger, kind of try to, what was it? It was like pave your own way type of thing. And that's just a very, very difficult thing to do in this day, because, you got these right here, and everything that you're posting it not so much as an inspiration from someone else, but to keep up with everybody else. Right? And when you're living that life, how authentic are you actually being for yourself? I mean, we know that there's people now that have literally just like quit their jobs, the whole realization, because they realize like the bottom line of this company is not worth my own health. And primarily, above all, if you're not even paying attention to the inner workings, that the inner sensations of your own body, because you're chasing, whatever that is, right? Like the views, or the clicks, or whatever it is, then you'll end up just like getting to that point, not just of the burnout, but of the who am I all of a sudden. Right. So I would say first and foremost, like, get to understand like who you are from here, right? And I think that means, and this is part of the reason why I stepped away from Instagram and Facebook, and now the only thing that I publish happens to be on LinkedIn, and I'll make some YouTube shorts, and then I'll transfer those shorts to LinkedIn. But again, I know that I'm living, life at a different kind of pace, because there's this saying, I think it's Lao Tzu or something, I don't want to misquote, but it's like, nature doesn't rush, and yet everything still gets done.
Right.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's just understanding like, yo, you have your youth, right? Appreciate that, but realize that without your own authentic expression of just life and the things that you are about, it doesn't matter how genius your idea is, right? Like it's gonna come to you, and that's it. And just have faith in that.
Beautifully said. And thank you so much, everyone, for the comments. Alejandra from OK Yes, Sean, community manager at Entra. Appreciate you guys chiming in. Any questions you guys have, please drop them into the comments. Let us know. We'd love to invite you to join the conversation with us today. We're chatting with Luigi, the founder of Feel, about his journey. Feel is on a mission to help stressed, burnt out, and corporate professionals to find flow, fulfillment, and a new sense of self. They offer a simple and powerful solution for moments when feelings of overwhelm or disconnection occur. You can find out more on their website, feeltheory.com. So talking a little bit more about this content creation, all of the different platforms that are coming out. I mean, TikTok, Twitch, Snapchat. I'm on every single thing these days, multiple accounts. It's a lot. What do you see as the future of content creation?
You know what I would love to see is less of a recording and more of an experience. You remember when there used to be the flash mobs?
Yeah.
Remember the flash mobs?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How cool was that?
That was awesome. Yeah.
You know, like you're just like a bystander, and then all of a sudden, you know, you see a person that starts like breaking it down, and then the next person comes in and joins in, and the next person, you know, and there's such a power when you take away the words and you just allow the body to do its thing, and it's contagious.
Yeah.
And when you can see people do that in a surrounding that's like very energetically depleting, right? So we're talking about places where they're like traffic, right? Or a busy, you know, like a long waiting line or something like that. And instead of it being a thing where like everyone's gonna take their phone out and just try to live it, you know, through their phone, they actually just like participate in what's happening. So it almost feels like, for me, if we can step away from content creation and just focus on like content of character, you know, the content of like who you are and how you choose to be like, you know, within a given space. And not because you'll get more followers out of it, but just because you'll have that memory. You know what I mean? Like you just have like, wow, like I remember I was in that, you know, spot over here and somebody passed by with like the music and I decided to dance a little bit and then somebody else joined me. And again, without it being a choreographed thing, just being a spontaneous act, that might be cool. And you know I'm all about picking up trash too. So I would love to see that in that regard, right? Where all of a sudden, you know, like I'm that person where I'm walking down the street sometimes. I got Luna and I got one of her trash bags. And I'll be honest, if she's in a patch of grass and it's not like a lot of traffic, I will leave her poop there as fertilizer. I do that. Guilty. But I will take that same bag and I'll pick up any pieces of plastic that I see around the area. So like I'll leave her shit there, but I'll pick up the other shit. Like I'll pick up the other pieces of plastic, you know, that are there.
I mean, I've heard that I heard that that's bad. The pet waste is bad for the bay, actually. It seeps into the ground and pollutes the waterways and or something. I heard that. I don't know.
Which bay? Like
the Miami, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you mean? Like if she's like at if we're like at Margaret Pace Park, you're saying like that poop there in that park will go into the bay? Is that?
Well, I guess it's like there's like harmful bacteria in the pet waste, right? That doesn't decompose and goes into the local water system when it's not disposed of properly. So it's part of the storm drain cleanup, but it's not well known. People don't know that it's not just a problem for people who step in it or whatever, but it's actually it's a small source of pollution that can add up to big problems for water quality and even human health.
No doubt. That I wasn't aware of, but cool. Yeah. Good to know.
Good to know. But I mean, the cleanups that you do are very inspiring. And I think we've talked a little bit about some fun stuff. What do you see? What are your thoughts on Web3, Luigi? Are you tuned into any of that stuff? Blockchain?
You know what? So I've never been inside of it.
The metaverse, you mean?
I will say this with regards to like the metaverse and hooking up to that stream. I recently saw a video of a kid. He must have been like 6 to 8, right? Like definitely under 10, and he's hooked up to one of those things, and he's like kind of walking a plank, or no, maybe I think a dinosaur pops up or something, right? Because you see it in the TV, right? Like in front, and of course he's just like really hooked in, and he just like shouts like out of pure fear, he's like no, and then just like freaks out of it, and not that once upon a time they used to say like, yo, gaming will mess up like with your vision, because I grew up on the Super Nintendo generation, so we used to sit really close to the TVs, and like really focus on that whole thing. But they would always say like, oh, that's gonna like dumb your brain. And then now, it's like you understand that no, some of these games that are there are actually very stimulating for the brain, and like there's memorization that takes place, and obviously you have to be coordinated to some degree. Obviously not athletic to that sense, but I mean there's competitions with gaming. But going back to the metaverse, once again, we're stepping into that place where, right? Like you're going to live in another world without truly exploring your own, right? And when it comes to the human body, guess what? We don't know everything about it. Like we have no idea how our subconscious like works, definitively, right? To that extent, we know that like the connective tissue of the body, right? The fascia. Years ago, especially when I was in school, like we glanced at that, like that had like maybe a chapter in medical books, right? But now we know that it's a sensory organ. So I beg the question when I think about things like that. It's like, so when we talk about energetic vibrations, right? When we talk about like really feeling out of space and then having a good feeling, like how does that actually work? Like how do we explain that we have that ability? That we can turn a corner and think like, you know what? I don't actually want to go in that direction. Or you into a party and without having to meet everyone and then there's no judgment involved, but you're there and you realize like, no, I don't think this is really my vibe. So now all of a sudden, if you want to step into this other world, right, where you're completely captivated, and yes, it's visually stimulating, but that's the whole point about our vision. Is like the way we interpret the world is through the vision. So I question what kinds of things are we actually exposing people to through that medium? Because Lord knows, before 2.5 years ago, right, you had people walking down the streets, staring at their phones, not looking at each other in the eye. And then when everybody got masked up, now all of a sudden it's like, no, you have to look at people in the eyes in a way because you can't really see their face and you don't really know what expression they have. And 90% of our communication is nonverbal. So we risk further losing that one bit of a tremendous connection that makes us human, like as we are. So, I won't say like, oh, everybody's going to look like they're hooked up to the Matrix or Ender's Game or whatever other movie that came out that was sort of like that, where everyone just lived, online. But I mean, look at relationships right now. You have men and women, having such a divide, right? Figuring out like, no, now I need to define myself in a certain way just because, I don't know, you can't have a conversation with someone, you are judging them by their social media profile type of thing. So we can go further, man, but I like to keep it, right here.
These are all really good points. And I'm grateful to have someone like yourself speaking honestly about how you feel about things. And I'm sure it's given food for thought to many that are watching today and that will watch this preview back or played back. If you have any questions for Luigi, chime in. We are grateful to have had him on to chat live with us today and tell us a little bit about what he's working on, share his thoughts on other things. You mentioned briefly your manuscript. I know that that's a project that you're working on. Anything else, coming along? What's next? What should we be keeping our eyes open for?
So beyond the manuscript, definitely more of the live workshops that I kind of stepped away from for obvious reasons. And I've been having this calling of, how, I don't know if you know this about Dave Chappelle, but when he stepped away from Comedy Central and had gone to Africa, when he came back at one point, he was just setting up like a cardboard, right? And the speaker, and he was just doing stand-up just in the middle of anywhere.
I did not know that, no.
Yeah. And at one point, I know he was doing like a cross-country, like biking, trip. And so whenever he needed like more money, he would stop in certain cities and then go do stand-up. And then that's how he was, providing, for himself on his trip. But the point is, I've been feeling a calling to sort of take more of that action in a public realm, right? Of just, let me sit here, let me post up, with a few words or something, and encourage someone to walk up, right? And whether to mimic me in what I'm doing somatically, or give them an opportunity to feel into whatever it is happening for them. Because I just realized that, in any space, you could always look around and see the person that is just having a difficult time. You can notice that, in a snap. And sometimes it's you, that's that person. So I don't know, public acts besides just picking up trash. I know that can be important, but there't nothing like picking up someone else, like uplifting them. So that would be cool.
Beautiful. That'd be cool to do. Very beautiful. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing. I'm excited to catch up with you next time you're in the Miami area. And
19th of October, I'll be back.
Okay, 19th of October. Mark that date down. How can people get in touch with you if they have more questions?
Like I'll put my number on the chat right here. I got no problems with that. Please don't hand my number over to creditors. I don't need that. I already told you guys I stepped away from like making a living for a minute. That doesn't mean that I was racking up credit cards all the time, but do not give my number away. And then LinkedIn. If people have it, I'm on there. I think that's the easiest way. Down chat right now.
Awesome. Well, just so you know, this is live on multiple channels out there, YouTube as well. Good to see you, Damien. Thanks for popping in on LinkedIn. Damien Clark from Brand Aid stopped in to say hello. Great to see everyone. Great to see you too. And if you want to get in touch with Luigi, you've got that number there. I feel like I'm probably not going to put it out on the live stream for people to check out. But this has been lovely catching up, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do it. And let's do it again soon.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Great seeing your face, great seeing your smile, and get in touch with all your people. Appreciate them taking a moment to, just like listen, encourage everyone to keep listening, to themselves and taking action.
Thank you for everyone who tuned in today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cool. Bye.